welcome to Vitro Notes, the podcast where we explore about Vitro's universe, its people, initiatives, and stories that shape who we are and where we're going. I am Andrea Hidalgo, and I'll be your host and guide for today's episode, which is crystal clear. And we'll be talking about Vitro's architectural glass marketing strategies. And to join us in today's conversation, we have Fernando Diez, who is VP of Marketing and Innovation. How are you, Fernando?
Hey, Andrea, good morning, and I'm delighted to be here with you guys. So, wonderful initiative, and look forward to a great conversation.
All the way from Pittsburgh.
That's right. I'm based over here, been 2 years in Pittsburgh, over 6 years with the company, and once again, very happy to join you and happy to share with all of our listeners a little more on Vitro Architectural Glass and what we do and how we're looking to change the world out there.
So, Fernando, for our audience that doesn't know you, can you please share with us the key responsibilities of your role?
Absolutely. Yeah, glad to. So I'm currently the VP of Marketing and Innovation for Vitro Architectural Glass. So basically what our business does, and I like to explain this the simplest way as possible is we produce big pieces of glass that eventually our customers fabricate, process them, transform them, and those eventually become a window, a facade, part of a building, part of an appliance at home, or even part of a vehicle. So that's what the business does. And from the marketing and innovation standpoint, we do two different things. We have a team that does everything related to marketing communications, both in the US and Mexico, serving the two different markets. And their
Okay.
main responsibilities are everything related to branding, publicity, advertising, digital, social media, trade shows, tools, sales enablement, and obviously customer outreach as well. We have a very strong team, always seeking to protect and promote and put the good word out of there from some of our world leading brands like SolarBand, like Starfire, like SolarCool, VistaCool, and some of our Mexico well known brands such as Lumax and Solar Reflect for high performance applications. And on the innovation side, we do also something that I think is very cool, very interesting. Our innovation team, which is composed of our product managers,
Mhm.
is responsible of understanding what the market needs, what the market wants, and what are the current trends in the market out there, and use that as input for us to develop those new glass products of the future. Glass products that can be more energy efficient, that have added functionalities, that can have different aesthetics to meet different needs and wants out there by architects, by developers, or even by OEMs or other stakeholders in the value chain. So I'm sure I'll get a chance to tell you a couple of more stories on this as we move further in the podcast. But those are the main responsibilities that I lead out of our Glass Technology Center here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing with us. So, Fernando, before we start, I want to know something from you.
Uh-huh.
Which is your favorite campaign, marketing campaign from any brand, any product, the one that you admire the most because of its strategy?
I mean, I'm going to answer that in two ways because after, like I said, more than 6 years in the company, I say my heart is already made of glass. So I want to get to a glass campaign at some point, and I'm going to tell you one that has been my absolute favorite since I joined the company and have been in this business. But just for the audience to know a little more about myself, I'm a big sports guy. I love sports. I'm particularly a big soccer and a big tennis fan. Although
Okay.
since I moved to the US a couple of years ago, it's undeniable that football or American football has become a part of daily life, especially since last year when Vitro became a proud partner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So as everything related to sports really resonates with me, passion, drive, endurance, performance, overcoming challenges, and so on. Um, One of my favorite brands and the way they do campaigns out there is Nike. And there is a very specific campaign from a couple of years ago called Risk Everything. So Nike is very famous for rolling out some of their most successful campaigns every time there's a soccer World Cup that is going to take place. So I remember this was before the Russia World Cup in 2018 when they came out with this campaign composed of a series of videos. They brought some of the best players for those videos. So from the likes of Ronaldo, from the likes of Wayne Rooney, and so on, for those who follow soccer. And the whole message around it was that if you do the same things the same way you've always done them, you're gonna get the same results. So it's not until you risk it, until you take chances, until you are brave, until you are bold, that you're able to transcend and you're able to reach those heights that only come when when you have that courage to go and do things differently. So that resonates a lot with me and my team because in innovation, in marketing, we always have to be very creative. We always have to stay
Yes.
ahead of the competition, stay ahead of the game. So that's one particular campaign that I really love and that really comes to mind every time that we try to see things differently. And because, like I said, Heart of Glass, one of my favorite Vitro architectural campaigns is related to our Starfire glass. So Starfire is our ultra clear, low iron piece of glass that basically eliminates the green hue or the green color that
Okay.
regular clear float glass has. So in this sense, when you put a Starfire piece of glass on a window, on a facade, on a casing, on a display, you're able to see the colors on the other side the way they're really supposed to be. Extreme transparency, extreme clarity, and particularly an edge that almost looks like a diamond. So we call it that little blue diamond edge that Starfire has. So
Yes.
we rolled out a campaign a couple of years ago where we communicated to the market that by using Starfire, every project could become a gem, you know? So
Yes.
we designed a campaign like if an engagement ring, with a diamond on it, was the building that the architect is building made out of Starfire glass. And I have a little diamond here that I keep in my office. It always reminds me of that. So I have it right by my computer. I always look at it because it reminds me of
It's a
how
good
we make
token.
beautiful products. Yep, we make beautiful products for beautiful buildings out there.
Oh, that's very beautiful. I was going to tell you myself a little bit more emotional. All the P&G marketing strategies around Olympics, for
Yep,
me, it's like yes, a 10 out of 10. I love them so much.
gold medal like in the
Yeah,
Olympics.
gold medal. Yeah. So, Fernando, I wanted to connect something you were saying before
Mhm.
about how does your team participate in all this investigation and innovation
Mhm.
process. So, I wanted to ask you, how does Vitro participate in the construction value chain?
Great question. So construction is definitely our main market and more
Hmm.
specifically commercial construction. So I want to make that
Okay.
distinction because we all associate glass with windows at our homes, so what we call residential applications. Even though, of course, Vitro participates in that segment,
Hmm.
in reality, our most important market where we participate both in the US and Mexico is commercial construction. What does this mean? It means glass that goes into facades, that goes into curtain wall applications, or that goes into windows that end up in a commercial or a non residential building, which could be a hospital, an office building, a convention center, a stadium, an
Yes.
airport, a bus terminal, an academic building, a school, a university, and whatnot, or even those buildings that have become very popular in the last couple of years, which we call mixed use buildings. So the ones where you have retail on the bottom, then a hotel, restaurants, and then you have condos or apartments on the top. That is
Yes.
our bread and butter, and that is the market where we focus our efforts and where we develop most of our products for.
Okay.
Now, it is also very important for our listeners to understand where does Vitro participate, because especially those who aren't necessarily as familiar with the glass industry, we always get the question if Vitro comes to my house or to my building and installs windows. So I wanna speak a little more on how we participate. So we are an industrial company, we are a B2B manufacturing company, and like I said, we make huge pieces of glass. For those that speak in inches, we make glass pieces that can go all the way to 200 by 240 inches. For those that speak in meters, we're talking glass that could be 3 by 6 meters big. So huge, massive pieces of glass. We put them in packs at the factory, and then we ship those to our customers, which we call fabricators. So a fabricator receives the glass, and then they do processes on it, which can go from tempering, which means strengthening the glass for it to break less or to require more effort to break. Lamination, which means putting an interlayer between two pieces of glass to make it impact resistance. And if it comes to break, it stays stuck so that the pieces don't fall until you have a chance to change it. Obviously, they
Okay.
cut the glass, they make insulating units for energy efficiency, for insulation capabilities in buildings, saving money inside with the HVAC and the electricity and so on. So our customers do all these processes. And once that glass is made to those specifications, those are sold to installers, or what we also know in the US as glazing contractors. These glazing contractors eventually are the people who put and install those windows or those curtain walls on buildings,
Okay.
which in turn are designed by architects. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very big value chain with a couple of more stakeholders involved that I'm not going to go too deep into today, but you have general contractors, you have the government with regulations and codes, you have even facade consultants, engineering companies, and so on. But those that I mentioned are some of the key participants. Now, how does Vitro participate? I already spoke from the sales side, how we sell our glass to fabricators, but there's another very, very critical component which we
Mm-hmm.
have a fantastic team in the US and Mexico doing this work called our architectural managers, also known as our NAMs, which have a portfolio or a group of architects and developers, so building owners that they call on. So they visit these people in order to take our glass samples, show them all the breadth, all the variety of solar band products, of solar
Okay.
control, low E products that we have, that range in all types of performance, aesthetics, colors, configurations, and so on, with the whole intention that the architect falls in love with that glass and
Yes.
specifies it in the building that they're currently working on. So that's our end goal, getting the specification, getting the preference on
Okay.
writing from the architect or the owner, because that means that they'll pull the entire value chain and eventually buy our glass downstream and have it installed on one of those big, beautiful buildings that you see all around the world.
Okay. You were saying that there are different types of clients in the construction industry. So
Correct.
I wanted to ask you, what are the main needs in the market right now? Because they're very different, but I don't know if they share needs or is there a main focus right now in the market?
Oh, it's a fantastic question. And I'm gonna, when I spoke about what our innovation team does of it identifying those trends, those needs, or what those wants of the market,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna address it from the architect or the design community point of view,
Yes.
which is eventually linked to what, the general or the end consumer, and it's also linked to what the public policy and codes are requiring in our different cities and our different
Yeah.
countries. So,
Regulations.
right, exactly,
Okay.
regulations. So I would say the most important one, and it keeps with the passing of the years, it keeps getting more strict from a sustainability standpoint, which is very good
Yes.
because we save carbon emissions, we save energy, we save electricity, and in consequence, we save money,
Okay.
is energy efficiency. So what does energy efficiency means? It means that when you make a building, when you construct a building,
Mm-hmm.
you use the best materials possible to separate the outside from the inside. So you use
Okay.
the best insulating glass possible with the best low emissivity or low E coatings, which is our solar band brand possible,
Okay.
because that keeps the heat from the sun from coming inside, and that stops the air conditioning on the inside from escaping.
Okay.
What does that translate into? It means that the HVAC, the air conditioning system, will have to work less to climatize, to condition the area, which in
Okay.
turn means less electricity consumption, which in turn means less CO2 or greenhouse gas
Okay.
emissions. So as we continue adapting to regulations and codes that get stricter, we develop products that meet these needs and that are cost competitive and that are aesthetically pleasing to the architects that want their that want their buildings to
Yeah.
look beautiful. And the second trend that I would say is adding functionalities to glass. So, like I said, glass is what separates the outside from the inside of a building, and it provides insulation and heat control properties, among many other things. But that is one of the traditional characteristics of low E insulating glass. Right now, as people become more conscious with the environment, as regulations continue to advance beyond energy efficiency, we
Mm-hmm.
have started seeing a stronger trend in protecting wildlife. So that's where I want to speak about our new BirdSmart product and how we leverage that bird-friendly trend in the market to come out with one of our most recent launches as part of the business. So just in the US, there's over
Okay.
1 billion birds that collide every year against buildings because when birds are flying and they look at a building, at the glass on the building, they
They can
either think
differentiate.
correct. They think they can
Yeah.
fly through, or if they see a reflection, such as a tree or so on, they think they can land there. And
Oh,
unfortunately, that's not reality. So they crash, they collide into the building. Very
okay.
sad, very sad situation. And of course, the glass industry made a commitment to solve this, to preserve wildlife and be more in tune with the environment. So different technologies have emerged to try and mitigate and control this in a better way. So the innovation that came from Vitro was that we already are the leading brand in low E glass with our solar band portfolio. And what we are offering now is that on the same piece of glass where you have solar band on one side of the glass, we are now including a laser edge pattern, which is very environmentally friendly to produce. It's very subtle, it's very nice looking, and that pattern helps birds to identify that they're looking at a piece of glass and fly around or fly up or
Okay.
basically do some evasive maneuvers.
Evasive.
That's right. That's right. That sounds like a fighter pilot, but evasive maneuvers with the building. And
Yes.
that way, they don't crash into it. So we're saving birds' lives. We're complying with code. We're also passing a message to the general public that the building product industry, in this case glass, is being conscious with the environment. So that's one
Yes.
of the one of the hottest trends in the market and one that Vitro is addressing with some of our new product launches.
Okay, it's almost like another side of sustainability, right? Because it's not only the function of preserving, wildlife, but also saving up energy, like you were saying before. So many sides of
Absolutely.
it. Okay.
Absolutely. Sustainability and being environmentally conscious can come from many ways. Like I said, saving energy, reducing emissions, preserving wildlife. And the other big component of it, and we learned this after COVID, after the pandemic, when many of us were stuck inside homes or buildings for many, many days or many,
Yes.
many months actually, was that sustainability also has a component on human well-being. So the
Okay.
wellness component as we
Yes.
continue to develop glass that control glare from the outside, but that allow you to still have a good transparency to see to the outside, connect with nature, good ventilation properties, and so on, that impacts very positive people that work in offices, that stay in hotels and have better sleep. Hospital, there's a lot of studies which are very interesting that hospitals that have good, natural light, that have good acoustic control from the outside,
Hmm.
patients tend to heal faster. So that's another very interesting component of
Wow.
sustainability where human well-being is also something we think on when we develop our products.
Wow, that's a great added value to the products out there. I wanted to ask you because you were telling before about the great group of scientists that you have out there in Pittsburgh. And I want to know or learn more about what is the main focus of the innovation process.
Absolutely. So our innovation group is
Hmm.
basically a marketing function where we are in charge of connecting with the exterior world and understanding those trends and those needs, bring them back,
Hmm.
quantifying them into a business opportunity, and then at the same time working with our research and development team, our R&D team, which is composed of these brilliant scientists that I spoke about, who are
Okay.
the ones they are the minds who can tell you if something is technically, economically, and large scale possible to be manufactured. So those
Okay.
are the geniuses that eventually bring to life some of the beautiful and high performance products that we see out there in the world out there. So
Okay.
the innovation team works hand in hand with R&D in connecting the external market and our internal capabilities to eventually develop products that we can put in a pipeline, go through a stage gate process where we continue validating the different feasibility aspects. Like I said, something needs to be, of course, meet the needs that we identified. It needs to be economically viable, both from the
Of
cost and
course.
the price side so that the market is able to adopt it. We need to be able to manufacture it not only at a lab scale,
Hmm.
but at a real industrial scale. And it's got to obviously comply with all the codes, all the quality requirements, and the processability or fabrication requirements that our customers have in order for it to get to that glass get actually transformed into a window or a curtain wall. So as
Okay.
that process continues to evolve and we go through this methodology, that is how we eventually reach a product launch. And that's the other interesting thing. That's where the marketing communication aspect of my role, my teams come in at those latter stages of the development to come up with a brand, to come up with a logo, to understand how they're going to promote this, what are the appropriate
Yes.
channels, what is the collateral that needs to be built from the communications, marketing communication side, and how are we going to train and enable our salespeople out there or our NAMs who talk to architects out there to have the best tools possible to show the product, present the product, and get the product to be spec'd, to be specified, and eventually to be bought. And of course, what we always want is to be installed and then take pictures of beautiful buildings to put them out there as success stories.
Wow, that's so very interesting how everything goes from an idea to actually doing it and then to protect that idea and promote it. It's a big team. And of course, it's all under the same umbrella. I now understand that. And
Yeah.
Fernando, now knowing, I mean, connecting the dots, you know the market needs and you have a marketing perspective. What would you tell our audience is Vitro's architectural glass added value? What do we give out there that others don't, or why do people should, I mean, and I mean in the construction side, the clients should go with Vitro?
Okay, so also great question, and for those external listeners, if you're an architect, if you're a designer, if you're a building owner, or of course if you're an installer, a fabricator, no matter who you are on the chain, I really like uh, what many of our own field teams, our salespeople, our NAMs say out there, because we've heard it from you guys when you talk to them. Projects are um, representation of projects. In other words, what I mean by that is if you're out there walking in New York City, downtown Dallas, Mexico City, Singapore, and you see a building, you see an airport, you see a hospital that has a beautiful curtain wall, that has great looking windows, and you know that those were made by Vitro with our Solar Band brand, you obviously have the confidence and the trust that many others have used them around the world and the products are performing. They look just as we said they would look, which is nice color, consistent aesthetics, and very attractive to those trends. And they're performing with any added functionalities as they're supposed to. So in other words, what I think the added value is we have hundreds, if not or even thousands and thousands of buildings out there that have been glazed with Vitro buildings. And we always invite people to visit our project gallery online. We should be able to post that on the podcast text
Yes,
so
of
people
course.
can go and look for that. And that's our promise. Our promise is that if you see a building there on our project gallery, you can make sure that whatever you're designing, whatever you're building, we have an option for that from the performance, from the aesthetic, from the functionality side that will look just as great, and you'll be as happy and as satisfied as all those other buildings that are a testament to what we offer. So that would be probably my main message on value added. And of course, if we added just a couple of more other items, the SolarBand brand is the most specified and recognized brand in the US per
Okay.
architect surveys that are conducted every single year. Like I said, we were the original developers of low-e coatings many years ago, over decades ago. So we've always been innovating and pushing the boundaries and taking risks, like I said with the Nike campaign, and putting those products. So we know what we do, and this is what we're passionate about, and this is the market that we continue to focus and bet on and partner with all the design community and the stakeholders on.
Okay. So our time is coming to an end. I want to thank you once again for joining us in this great conversation to talk about the value chain and how do we participate in the construction industry. So, Fernando, before we leave, I have something for you. I'm going to send it all the way to Pittsburgh, but I want to show it to you. It's
Okay.
an astronaut figurine
Oh
to
wow, that's
symbolize
beautiful.
how far your ideas go on all the projects, all the products, all your communications, and of course, of your team as well.
That's fantastic. That little astronaut reminded me also on, back in the 60s, I think, when we first went to the moon, how
Yes,
when we first set step over there, one small step for man, but big, huge step for mankind kind of
yes.
thing. So once again, congratulations to Vitro for putting out this podcast. I'm really happy to share and to listen to other Vitro colleagues across many of our businesses and many of our operations around the world. What we do to contribute to society, to contribute to in our case, the construction value chain or other value chains out there, which are very significant. So I appreciate that a little gift that you'll be sending, and it's been a pleasure talking to you guys today.
It has been a pleasure as well for me to talk with you, Fernando. And for our audience out there, whether you're part of Vitro or simply curious about the people behind, this episode was dedicated for you. And I invite you to stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you so much.